Hello and welcome to Model Minutes. Today's video is a quick build of the Cromwell Mk IV tank starter set from Airfix. This is the first ever tank kit that I've built. I've always had an interest in building other types of model kits, and this particular kit has been suggested to me by people in the comments of my other videos. So let's get started. The kit comes complete with 4 paints, a small tube of poly cement and a paintbrush. The rear of the box has the printed painting and decal instructions, whilst the assembly instructions are contained inside the box itself. The kit is comprised of a small sheet of decals and 2 sprues of component parts, all moulded in the typical grey plastic and to a scale of 1/76. The instructions recommend that the parts be washed in warm soapy water in order to ensure they are properly clean and give a good surface for the cement and paint to adhere to. I didn't bother with this step, however, as I was so eager to get on with the construction. With these Airfix kits, watch out for the flying hours tokens on the boxes. If you join the Airfix club, these can be redeemed against more kits. I've never used my flying hours, so I have quite a stash. One day I'll join the club so I can use them all. The first step I chose to complete was to paint the component parts the relevant colour whilst they were still on the sprue. The paints included in the set were used, and I know some of you will point out that they really should be thinned, but I wanted to see what the results would be like straight out of the pot. To get the best results with these acrylic paints, they can be thinned with water, although specialist thinners are available. I tend to do about 1:2 ratio of water to paint, but you may have to experiment with what works best for you. The reason the paint can be thinned is in order to avoid leaving brush strokes on the finished model. Keeping the paint more fluid until it dries will result in fewer visible imperfections. My general rule of thumb when painting is to start with the lightest colour first, then progress to the darker colours. I find that it's always easiest to paint a dark colour over a light one rather than the other way round. As a result, I'll start with the overall green first and highlight the wheels with black and the tracks with metallic grey afterwards. Whilst you watch me finish up the painting of the kit, I'll tell you a little bit about the actual Cromwell Mk IV tank. The tank was officially named Cruiser Tank Mk VIII and was one of the most successful British tanks of the Second World War. It was named after the English Civil War leader Oliver Cromwell, and it turned out to be an adept and rugged fighting machine serving until the end of the war. While outgunned and out-armoured by German tanks, the Cromwell managed to hold its own through better manoeuvrability, its relatively small size, and its reliability in combat. The paint scheme Airfix have depicted in this kit is that of a Cromwell Mk IV of the 5th Royal Horse Artillery, 7th Armoured Division, British Army, in Europe 1944/45. It is worth noting that there are alternative parts for this kit. You may be able to notice that the sprues include the extensions that were applied over the exhausts and intakes in order to allow it to take part in the amphibious landings of D-Day. I decided to discard these parts and build it without them, as I've got another project in mind for this kit when it's finished, which does not require these parts to be used. The construction of the kit starts by removing the parts, which are all numbered, with a sharp blade and sanding any burrs or flash that may remain from the moulding process. Airfix recommends that people constructing this kit be over the age of 8 years old, as sharp tools and the use of chemicals such as the paints and solvents can be toxic and give off fumes. As always, remember that adult supervision may be required. The base or hull of the tank are the first parts to be constructed. I find that all of the parts have been designed to fit together really well, which is a result of this being a more recently tooled kit. I didn't need to use filler at any point in the construction of this kit. The fiddliest part of the construction was the assembly and installation of the wheels and tracks. When completed, they do not function or rotate, as the wheels are cemented in position and the tracks are moulded to a specific shape. Having constructed those parts, I made a note to go back and touch up any paint that had been chipped or removed during assembly. The main body of the tank goes together well and has a number of small parts, Special care needs to be taken in order to ensure that they are attached in the correct orientation. More than once I attempted to apply them upside down. The turret of the tank is easy to construct too, and if careful, the main gun can be made to traverse up and down, and the turret be made to rotate on top of the hull. I found that in order to allow for this functionality, some of the paint I had applied had to be removed, gently sanding it away from the hull of the tank in order to allow the turret to turn. Having completed the construction of the tank, any areas that needed a touch-up or details highlighted were picked out in the correct colours. A satin varnish was then applied and left to dry prior to the application of decals. A satin or gloss varnish should be used as the base for decals, as it prevents the decals from appearing silver and shiny on the model. The decals were cut from the sheet, soaked in warm water, and then gently applied to the kit, which had already been given a coat of decal set solution in the relevant position. The decals are positioned and left to cure. The solution allows for the decals to conform to the complicated contours and details of the model and look like they're painted on. For more information on how to apply decals, I made a video on this topic, so have a look for it on my channel. The next step is to apply a matte varnish to the model, which ensures an even finish and helps blend the decals into the model. When this was dry, I dry brushed silver over the model to give it a light metallic effect and highlight the details. A small amount of Humbrol 11 was applied to a brush, then removed on a tissue. The brush then dragged over the surface of the kit highlights the raised details without actually painting the entire surface. The final stage was a dark wash, again intended to highlight more detail, particularly the recessed areas. Humbrol 33 was mixed with water to about a 50-50 ratio, and a drop of washing up liquid added to ensure it flowed easily. Any excess wash was gently removed from the model with damp cotton buds or tissue paper. I decided not to weather the tank any further, as the project I have in mind for it doesn't require it to be in a battle-worn condition. And here's the finished model. I found it didn't take too long to complete. It really helps that acrylic paints have fast drying time, so realistically, the kit can be constructed in about 6 hours. It's quite easy to build, but perhaps a little fiddly with all the wheels if it's a first time build. If I were to build it again, I'd have a go at using the extra parts, which I omitted this time around, and also thin the paints for a better finish, but ultimately I'm happy with the results. This starter set retails for around £10 in the United Kingdom, but I was fortunate to get it at half price as it was on sale. I'll add the link to the kit in the description under the video if you want to have a go at it yourself. I'm aware that Airfix also retails this kit on its own and not as part of a starter set, so if you've already got the correct colours, that may be a cheaper option. This model may not be up to the standard of some tank kits available from other manufacturers, but for a first go it was a good introduction to the genre. As always, let me know what you think of my build, techniques and finish model in the comments below. I'm keen to hear your suggestions as to other tanks or vehicles that would be worth a go, so feel free to post that too. All that's left to say is thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to leave a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe in order to see more content, and feel free to connect with me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. See you all again next time.